Hello and welcome to the Mental Health Gaming Podcast. We are now at episode 33. I'm Bradley, and in an absolute surprise to no one, I'm joined by Stu. How you doing, Stu?
Yeah, I normally like to be the wild card, but I'm very much the normal card. So yeah, I'm all right.
Good. I've got a stinking cold. Well, I've got I'm bummed up. So you're going to get sexy audio from me today because I'm a little bit bummed up.
Ooh, cheeky.
I know. That's what they come for. That's what they come here for.
That's the rumour, yeah.
Yeah. So some interesting, well, I say it's interesting to me. Topics a little bit later. But as usual, we do talk video games. So rumour has it. So what have you been playing, Stu?
I've been playing not that much this week, but I've played a couple for review, and they're in the works. And one of them is a game called Shing, and it's a scrolling beat 'em up. And you know, Shing is like sounds like it's onomatopoeic for like the noise you make, isn't it? When the sword swings around and stuff. But it just reminds me of Swing from what's it called?
Austin Powers.
Wayne's World.
Oh, Wayne's World. Yes, sorry.
Austin
Can we edit that? Can we edit that so I don't sound stupid?
It could be in both. To be fair, they're both Mike Myers, aren't they?
Yeah, swing your pants.
Yeah, yeah, that as well. Trevor and Simon.
Oh,
yeah.
no.
I
Now
saw
I'm
them
really
in
going
Covent
back.
Garden once.
Are they like that in real life?
They were just walking past. They both had girlfriends with them, very pretty girlfriends, and they looked very smug.
But, to be fair, they're Trevor and Simon. I would be smug if I was Trevor and or Simon.
I think if you can parlay such a minimal amount of talent into a BBC career, you're doing quite well.
And they still get called upon for things today, so they're still getting paid just for being Trevor and Simon.
I know.
Which American audiences that we've got are going, huh?
Well, that's what YouTube's for, you see.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yes.
No, the lowdown. And for anyone under the age of about 300 as well, you know, they were just kids' TV comedians in inverted commas.
They weren't even major mainstays. They were like bit part in like Saturday morning live TV. It was really weird niche they carved out.
Yeah, it was bizarre.
The poor man's Chuckle Brothers.
Oh, God, can you imagine such a thing? Well, actually, yeah, because that's what they were. But unbelievably, this doesn't have anything to do with the game.
No, and you sounded very much like Ashens then, by the way, with that last little bit.
Good. He's good. Yeah, nothing to do with the game. The game is fairly straightforward, about as straightforward as you can get, really. It's a scrolling beat 'em up, like brawler, weapons based, and yeah, you cut stuff up. And to be honest, there's not really much more to say than that. It does everything it does okay. It's fine, you know, it's fun, but it's got absolutely nothing new to it that I could discern, to be honest.
Yeah.
And for one of the oldest genres going, that's a bit disappointing in itself, but it is in what it does. It's absolutely fine, and it's a laugh. And I think if it would really come into its own in 4 players, because it's 4-player capable. So yeah, that's okay. Yeah, it's not too bad. Damning with faint praise a little bit.
Yeah, so is it just one of those games where I always loathe to actually say should get this in a sale, but there's quite a few games where you kind of have to go, if you see that drop to about half its current price, then definitely pick it up and have it in the backlog, because it's one that looks like it's worth picking up and playing when you got just a spare bit of time, but not one that you go, that's a must-play game to have right now.
Well, I'll have to have a look into it, but I think it'll be 4-player online. And in that case, if you like playing those sorts of games online and or you have a friend group who'd be into it, then it's the sort of thing you should probably buy brand new at full price, because you'll get a lot out of it that way. Otherwise, if you're only going to play it 1 player, from what I've experienced so far, it's probably, wait for a sale. But I mean, you know, it's not terrible by any stretch of the imagination. I think there might be a demo. So yeah, there is a demo.
Yeah.
So yeah, try it out.
But I don't mind games that are just, you know what? They're all right in their genre. It's been done, but this was more the same. I don't mind those sort of games when they just know what they are. As long as they're not coming out and going, we're reinventing the wheel, and they're just happy to be that, then good for them. I hope it gets them some success.
Yeah, me too. Although I can't help thinking that, like, you know, so many of the, we've mentioned this on the podcast before, but you can't help thinking so many of the things that you can add to make a game of a genre like stand out from the genre and then expand on those ideas of kind of being left on the table. And when it's like my favorite, and I would argue the best scrolling beat 'em up ever, is Alien versus Predator by Capcom, 1994, I think it was. I would argue that's the best one, and that's got all sorts of amazing stuff in it. Far too much to go on about here. But when there's a 26-year-old game that comprehensively is better than what you've produced, you have to look at yourself and go, well, what could we do to add more to this, to add a new dimension? So it is a bit disappointing from that point of view. But yeah, no, it's perfectly fine. It's perfectly fine.
But at the same time, has anyone ever bettered the SNES-based Super Mario games? The answer's no, before we get into an argument.
Yeah. Although, I would say the Mario 2D games are genius.
Yes.
Whereas, even though I'm obsessed and in love with Alien versus Predator, I wouldn't say it was genius. No. I wouldn't say it was just functional, but I'd say it is, and it is exceptional in that it's an exception to everything else, barring maybe Guardian Heroes and a couple of other little bits. But I still wouldn't call that genius, whereas I would say Mario is genius. And even when I was playing them at the time, I kind of thought they would never be bettered.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it depends on where you set your bar. It's so personal, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely. And I'll talk about setting a bar.
Please do.
For the game I've been playing, that I set a bar so high for this, I probably shouldn't have been surprised to be disappointed by it. So, I'm going to describe this game, and you're going to mark off indie game bingo as we go.
Our favourite game. Excellent. Yeah, go for it.
So, we've got here a 2D fighter that's also a beat-em-up. It's a battle royale made by a small developer. It stars characters from such indie games as Guacamelee, Darkest Dungeon, Dead Cells, Owlboy, and loads of others as well. And they all do battle. Blocks That Matter as well, which is a really niche indie game, by the way, that's in there. And they all do 2D fighting, to obviously with a bunch of story and stuff like that. But it's got all the little indie elements that I should love. So I don't think we've got full bingo, but I think we got a line out of that.
Yeah. If I had roguelike, and there was a card battling kind of bit in it, that'd be it.
Yeah, oh God, yeah. But, dear God, it is the most mundane, boring, insipid affair I've ever played. That it just seems like a waste. So I don't know if I was expecting, because it's a mashup of all like the best indie characters across so many games, that I was expecting something along the lines of Brawlhalla, which is in itself an homage, shall we say? Are you allowed to? Yeah, you go homage, don't you? When it's clearly a rip-off, but it's a well-done rip-off. We go, that's not a rip-off, that's an homage.
Yeah, when you want to sound classy and when you don't want to be actionable and stuff like that.
Yeah, only when the game's not that good do you turn around and go, well, that's a complete rip-off.
Correct.
So, yeah, Brawlhalla is an homage to Super Smash Brothers, and it does it really well. And it's got a few characters that are brought in from different properties. Like, I know there's Adventure Time characters in there, Rayman's in there, and a few others. But this is the love letter to indie games. And that's all good. It looks nice. And all the indie characters are in there in their own guises. It's just boring. It doesn't do much. The fighting, they've simplified the fighting mechanics down, which I appreciate. But even for me, they've simplified them too much that it doesn't ever feel like you're in control as such, that it's just like, well, it's more rock, paper, scissors on a base level than it is like that being the absolute core and then it's expanded upon. It just feels like it's playing rock, paper, scissors. It's slow and it's meandering. Levels are just not that inspired. And what frustrates me more than anything with Bounty Battle is that somewhere in there, when I first put it on and I played the tutorial and a couple of opening fights, I played it and I was like, there's something in here. There's something in here that really wants to get out and that has the potential to be something. but it's just missing the point. Now, the issue I've got with this, and I really hope that they support this going forward, this game, and try to improve on it, and they can pull a No Man's Sky out of their pocket somehow, is I've got no reason to play this over Brawlhalla, because Brawlhalla does most of what I want this to do, and it's a free-to-play game where I can buy the characters I really, really want. Whereas this, it's just over £15, currently on sale for just under at the time of this recording. But it's a £15 game that feels like it should have been free to play, and I worry that they've got our money now, or that people who have kind of jumped into this have paid their money. So what incentive do they have now to continue to work on it? I hope they do, because I said there's something in there. As much as I describe it as boring and insipid and uninspired, that's because that's the shell of it. But inside, I don't know, there's something wanting to get out, and I just can't put my finger on what it is. So it's one I hope to go back to in 6 months or a year to find they've overhauled the fighting system in just enough that it becomes an exciting and worthy to play game. But as it stands at the moment, I was gutted that this is a bad game.
What was that one called?
And I don't say that often. Bounty Battle.
Bounty Battle. I'll steer clear of that. No, you
and
very rarely.
In full hipster mode, you probably haven't heard of it.
No, but you very rarely criticise stuff, harshly. Well, neither of us do, but particularly you. And so if you're saying it's rubbish, then that's it. I'm staying well away. Yeah,
I mean, I did wonder. I generally, when I play games personally, especially when I play them for a video or for review, I try not to look at anything else about it, so it's my opinion. So I recorded my bit for it, and I was disappointed. And I thought, right, am I going against the grain? I bet I'm going against the grain, and I've missed something totally obvious. And then I checked the Steam reviews, and they're negative. No one who's played it is liking it. There's the odd people who say it's decent but still have many issues with it, but on the whole it's getting purely negative reviews from it. So I don't know. We'll see.
Justified. That sounds like one, like you say, wait for a year, see if they pick it up.
Yes,
there was something that I played not long ago when it was it was that oh goodness me, what was it called? Was it Kutaragi? What's it called? The ninja one that I was playing. Aragami. Yes, that's it. Aragami.
That's getting a sequel, by the way.
Yeah, I saw that it was. Yeah, and I will definitely be buying that. Yeah, unless it turns out to have completely pooed the bed, as they say. I think I'll be getting that straight away, because I was really impressed with that, and there are not many Tenchu style games out there. But that was one where it was complete garbage at release and then got completely transformed within a year. So it can happen. It's not rare. It's not common, but it can happen. Yeah.
No, so fingers crossed. Yeah. So have you got anything else?
Yeah. I've played a couple of things.
Go on.
I had to go at Sayonara Umahara Kawase, which is. Do you remember Umahara Kawase? It was on the SNES.
Vaguely, yes.
Yeah,
vaguely.
It's a platform game, a little bit like Bionic Commando, where you use like a winch system to flip yourself around the levels. And it's all right, it's quite good, the original one. This one, not so good. I think it's really weird because it's in VR, but it's still a side-on platformer, which, that's fine. It's nice to have the extra immersion. But it's not very exciting, and the graphics are absolutely abysmal, which I don't mind, because they're colourful, and I don't care that it's a bit rubbish looking. But the weird thing is that the main character is animated at 60 frames. No, it's higher than 60 frames per second. Obviously, it's like 90 on VR. But the backgrounds are all in a different speed. And we were talking about Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, where characters are animated at different frame rates, so that they have a different impression on you. Well, it's like that, but
if you're interested in more debate on that, if you check out our Patreon, you can get an in-depth discussion about Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Exactly.
Sorry to interrupt you to plug, but apparently you should be doing that more often.
cross-promotional is great.
Yeah.
But so it's like that the background is at a different frame rate, and that's really weird. I'm very poor programming, and it constantly puts you off because it's a big deal. It's on a flat screen, it's like, oh yeah, that doesn't run very well. But in VR, it's like, oh god, when I look at the background, I feel sick. So it kind of completely ruins itself by having that completely bizarre technical flaw. So I kind of abandoned that pretty much straight away. So the fact I paid £3 was, a good thing. And the other thing to mention is that I decided to have another go on Outrun 2006 on PC again, which I periodically have to go back to because it's just amazing. And I haven't downloaded Hot Shot Racing yet. And yeah, it's just such a wonderful game. It's one of the greatest racing games of all time, without a shadow of a doubt. And bizarrely, the ancient PC version, you can put it in any resolution you like, and it does it properly. So I was putting it in ultra widescreen, and it was running beautifully and in ultra widescreen. So it still looks amazing. So that was lovely to go back to. It feels like a summery / autumnal game to me. It just links in with the seasons really well. So yeah, I loved replaying that. It's just amazing.
That's one of those games though, I fear that if I was to go and play that before playing Hot Shots Racing, it'd ruin Hot Shot for me.
Yeah, it might do. Yeah.
You kind of I think games like Outrun, when you've got them in your memory, you can kind of mould them to how you want them to be to tell you the game you're about to play. This is a really good game. It's just like that used to be to a degree. So you can kind of use like your imagination a bit. But I think if you play it just before playing the spiritual successor, so to speak, that spiritual successor then I think goes, oh, ouch, that's not quite what I was expecting.
Yeah, you can, scupper your own ship doing that, definitely.
Yes.
Yeah. Have you played... yes, I was just going to say, have you played Hot Shots Racing yet?
I've got it, but I haven't played it yet, no.
Fair play.
Probably because I didn't play to us, because I was going to segue nicely, and I was going to say, talking of spiritual successors, as we was doing, I've been playing more Pacer, which was known as Formula Fusion. I think we touched on it last week.
Yeah.
And I didn't realise it's actually got the Designers Republic behind it, or part of it as well. So it has everything about it. It is pretty much Wipeout without the spit and polish, and where they've gone absolute, and this is, I think, the genius move. The gameplay, like, screw all the gameplay. If the gameplay's fine, it plays a really good game of Wipeout. But the genius thing, where it lacks maybe the budget and the spit and polish of Wipeout at its best, the environments you're in, they're actually worn and decayed, as though, in the background something's gone on with this world. It's not a perfect world. So you've got all the neon of the signs and the designs and the adverts and everything like that going on. The ships all look the part. But the tracks themselves are all showing signs of wear. The buildings in the background, you look at some of them, and some of them are really run down, as though, maybe you are racing through like some kind of slum town or something like that. And it's just like, this is really clever in certain ways. They knew they couldn't match the graphical powers of a 4K Wipeout game. If you look at the Amiga collection, how good that looks. The designers of this, that makes this, knew they probably wasn't going to be able to match that. I didn't want to be actually Wipeout 6 fake edition or anything like that. So they made a couple of really clever design decisions that pretty much subconsciously tell you, hey, look, we know we're basing this on Wipeout. And it's a good game, so it's an homage to Wipeout. It's not a rip-off. That we are going to be an homage to Wipeout. We're going to wear our influences on our sleeve. We are happy to do that. But, look, we can't make it look as wonderful as Wipeout. But in doing so, that's what they've done. It is absolutely fascinating. Honestly, absolutely brilliant. Brilliant. And I've loved it every moment I've been with that game so far.
Right. Well, I have a very different experience with it. As I backed it on Kickstarter and I got it early, which might well have coloured my reaction to it a little bit, because when it came out, it was very poor, had a lot of bugs, and the design wasn't great. The handling was a bit whack. I came back to it about a year after that, and I think it's okay. I know that it's designed by some of the ex-Wipeout developers,
Yeah.
so they've got a big hand in it. But they were also, I know, quite keen to not just make it another Wipeout game.
Yes.
So I talked about Redout last week, and Redout is basically another Wipeout game. It's complete rip-off, or as we said before, homage, you know. So it's definitely in that ballpark with Redout. But with Pacer, it's trying to be something else. And it is midway between, you know, F-Zero and Wipeout with a couple of other wrinkles, I think. I feel like. I personally found that I didn't really engage with it. I thought that no matter where you adjusted the cockpit, the distance wasn't quite right. I thought that the 0 point, the horizon point was wrong, so that it was always a bit too far away, which nullified some of the sense of speed and also made it difficult to take corners. And I just found the track designs as well to be quite mediocre and not very exciting. So for me, it was really bog average. But yeah, but you didn't feel that way, no?
No. Now, let me caveat everything with I'm not very good at Wipeout. And I found Wipeout to be too fast for me at times. And I was literally just bouncing around tracks in later levels, and I felt I was never in control. So for me, I think this slowed things down just enough that I felt like I was actually in a race and I was in control. So maybe that is why I had a positive effect, because I was doing better at this than I probably ever did at Wipeout. And that could well have skewed my feelings on it. Yeah. But as I say, I get where you're coming from as well, because it lacks something. Everything about it is almost like it's a step down from Wipeout. But, you know, again, we spoke about Mario, 2D Mario earlier. Wipeout is the pinnacle of that type of game. It is the absolute pinnacle. So anything that follows it is never going to better it. And this falls into that category. It's good, but it's not Wipeout. But for me, I enjoyed it because I wasn't very good at Wipeout, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does completely. Yeah.
And just to follow up, I think we've got the title for this episode, by the way. Another game that is influenced by stroke homage is called a Griefhelm, which is, in many ways, it's what can you do with Nidhogg to make it not a better game, but a different game. So what Griefhelm is, it's like a medieval battle game. So it's on a 2D plane. You use close quarters combat and you battle enemies on a 2D plane as you move through the level. And it's looked at how you riposte, how you attack, how you defend, and how you move, and takes all that into consideration, like you get in Nidhogg, but in a much more considered way. So it's slower than Nidhogg, but everything feels weightier. So the actual combat in it, if you're holding a sword and you swing the sword, you actually feel the weight behind it, and that you're actually trying to make contact. And if you get it wrong, you're open for an attack back at yourself. So you can't just go in swinging wildly. Various different enemies within Griefhelm are really good as well. You can go through some easier than you can others. But at the same time, it's never in a way that you just get rid of all this fodder and just get to the end. You've still got to be careful with how you attack these enemies. It's really good. It's got a decent, meaty single-player campaign that's worth checking out. And if you just want some good old Nidhogg-style gaming, on the local and online multiplayer, well done, by the way, on that, for local and online, you've got a tug-of-war mode, which is essentially gritty Nidhogg, gritty and Nidhogg even. And it's just a really, really good game. Nidhogg is still, again, is probably the standard setup because that is just such a joy to play. But this is a really, really good take on it. And again, it probably goes into the realms of don't rush out and buy it, but if you get it in a sale, you're not going to go far wrong.
No, fair enough. Is Nidhogg the one that it's a bit like Rastan, but it's a roguelike? So you've got an axe and you're walking along and...
No, Nidhogg is basically, it's a multiplayer fencing game. With very, very basic graphics.
I always do that. I can confuse Nidhogg with whatever that one's called, Volgar or Volgar or something.
Is Volgar the Viking?
Possibly.
I don't know, but yeah. Yeah.
That's great podcasting, by the way. This is
we do our research. But no, to be honest with you, we don't. We never go into it going, what game are you going to talk about? What game are you going to talk about? Because I always find it more natural and interesting that we react to what the other one's actually saying rather than having a script ready in our minds.
Yeah.
So everything you get, all the mistakes you hear, all the even the bits we get wrong, our opinions that might be wrong, or where we come up with differences of opinion, is all natural. None of it's ever scripted because it just doesn't feel right to do it that way. Also, I'm ADHD and I can't script anything. So, but there you go. Whatever that game is that Stu's talking about, no one knows.
I'm scrolling through Steam right now to have a look. And I don't think I've got it on Steam. So that worked well, didn't it?
Yeah. Well, we'll pretend it's Volgar the Viking. And if we are completely wrong, that'll probably get us more listeners when they correct us.
I'm pretty confident it's that Volgar thing. So anyway, so this one, Griefhelm, is like Near Dog, which is the fencing one that looks like it was built on a Atari VCS.
Yes. But this is... so the best thing about this, sorry, just to point out, visually, it is really, really good. So the character models look like they're fully 3D created, but they're set on almost a full silhouette. You can see little hints of detail in them as you play through different environments, and they're really well lit by whatever the situation is. The backgrounds themselves are super, super detailed, and where this is brilliant, and they get the balance really right, is by having the characters semi-silhouetted, you can see their movements properly. You can see their body outlines. You can see every move they're trying to make, and they don't get lost on the background. If they'd have gone for trying to do this really fully overly detailed character models on these overly detailed backgrounds, I don't think this game would have played as well. But if they'd have gone for these character models, they're super flat, just silhouetted on a certain style of background, that wouldn't have worked. They've balanced it really, really well. It's honestly, give it a go. Again, I don't think it's a game that people should rush out and buy unless they loved Nidhogg, but it's definitely worth it if you catch it in a Steam sale or a Humble sale or something like that.
Oh, very good.
I think that's it for games at the moment. I mean, I've played others. I've got Art of Rally coming up, by the way. Oh my God. I can't wait. I can't say anything. In fact, I can't say anything because I've not actually played it yet. But, however, if that doesn't turn out to be one of my games of the year, based on what I've seen already, then they have done something very, very, very wrong. And that's before I've even pressed play now.
Nice. I should look forward to that one then.
Yes, next week. So it's either going to be me waxing lyrical or this going to be the rant of all time. One of the two.
Yeah. How could you mess this up?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was expecting it to be difficult because it's from the guys who done Drift. I'm now checking my Steam things. I know this game. I played it. I loved it. And it's Drift something or other.
21 that you were talking about last week?
No, not that one. Oh my Christ. What's it called? See, this is how you know we don't script. Absolute Drift, sorry. It's an indie game, as you may be shocked to hear. That basically gives you a playground in which you get a car that's got brutal drift controls, like brutal in a good way, and basically you have to do this this top-down view Gymkhana type stuff that not Ken Burns, Ken Block does. He's famous for those kind of things. It's really good. It's from the makers of that, so that's what piqued my interest, and obviously trailers of it, the look of it, everything about it just looks, oh my Jesus, this I can't wait.
Nice.
But on to things I can wait for. I'm okay at this old segue stuff.
Fantastic.
I'm awaiting I was going to say a home pregnancy test then, that's not right. I'm awaiting a home COVID test. Not for me, but for my son, who at the weekend just gone, got a high fever and a cough. So we called the school just to say that he's not going to be in. And they've gone, what are the symptoms? We told them and said, right, he cannot come back in until he's had a test. And we've got the results of that test. It's like, okay, that's fine. And I've looked more and more into what's actually got to be done. And my son's going to hate us once we've done the test on him because it's brutal. I'm sure medieval torture isn't as bad as what a COVID test is. You've had one, haven't you, Stu?
I have, and it was very unpleasant.
You're an adult, so you can kind of accept that. I've got an ADHD and autistic child. I've got to ram something down his nose and throat for, what is it? It's like it's a good amount of time. You've got to keep it there, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like 10 or 12 seconds, and you got to wiggle it around. And when you do it on your tonsils, it just makes you gag. Like you can't stop. You can't stop that. Mm.
So, did you do it yourself, or did your partner do it to you, and then?
I did it for myself, and I think it would probably be a bit easier doing it for yourself because you know when to expect things.
Yeah. So what our plan is to literally pin him to the floor, to hold his arms and legs down, and then hold his head still and just force it. We've told him this. We know we're not just going to like surprise him and pin him down, because that's just it'd make a good video.
It would be entertaining, yeah.
It would, but no, we've prepared him and said, look, mate, this is what we're going to do. We're going to have to pin you down because I know how he's going to react. He can't take tablets because he gags on tablets. So just to give you an idea of what to expect. So, yeah, we're going to have to pin him down, hold his head and just force it. Obviously, we told him, look, we're not doing this because we want to. We're genuinely not going to get any joy out of it. And obviously, if he wants to go back to school and play football, it's got to be done, unfortunately. But I'm stuck in. He's got to self-isolate. My daughter's self-isolating as well, which means because what I've really wanted to look forward to is spending more time with my children after 6 months.
Well, of course.
I've got a couple of weeks off, yeah. But it's the rules around it that have made me angry more than anything. That as it stands at the moment, nothing has to be done. So no one else apparently needs to isolate. I can't go to the hospital for an appointment. That's as far as it goes. My partner is told she can still go to work and we can still go and do shopping and stuff like that. Anyone who's been in contact with, so his school year, his football, his ice hockey, all things like that, they've been told, but I'm told you don't need to self-isolate. It's almost as though we're being told, look, COVID's not actually going to attack anyone unless you have a test. And then once you've had the test, and it's not going to do anything until you've had the results. As soon as you come down with the symptoms and you are waiting a test, this is surely when anyone you've been in contact with, that's when they need to self-isolate as well. Because once it's showing, you've already incubated it. Surely there's a chance you've spread it, and we need to narrow that down. So by letting everyone carry on for another week before you potentially need to shut them down. Now, let it be said, I think he's only got a cold. I don't think he's got COVID, and he's taken the test because the school said he's got to. But if you're allowing X amount of days, because you can't just get a test easily at the moment. That's a pain in the arse as well. But if you're taking that amount of time, that's that amount of time for potential secondary spreading and stuff like that. The R number's back over 1 as it is. And we're allowing that to happen. So it's got me angry that it's being allowed to happen like that we're allowed out. My daughter technically is allowed back to school. There's nothing to say she can't go back to school. We're just taking the decision because she had the sniffles as well, just to play that safe. She hasn't got to take the test, luckily, because I'm not doing anything to that murderous little thing. Give her an excuse to kill us down the line. But I don't get the theory behind only telling people to isolate once you've got the positive test. Surely once you're going for a test and you need that test, people you've been in contact with should be isolating.
Well, I think if you're trying to look at logic in any of this situation, it's going to drive you bananas, mate. Yes. Because there isn't any. And it's kind of like, if you've got a dark sense of humour, it's pretty funny, because the government have messed stuff up so badly that all the corrections that they do and all the little things that they do to sort of try and justify their patterns of behaviour just come across as completely mental. Yeah. So you've got, it's like somebody saying, we're gonna hang you, but we'll only use a certain type of rope, and it'll only be a certain level of drop, and not all the public will come and watch. We're only allowing 20 people. You know what I mean? It's just placing like these arbitrary factors, and you're still like, but I'm still getting hung. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, it is bananas, and it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It's bureaucracy for bureaucracy's sake to try and make it look as though there's a plan.
Yeah, and someone I was discussing recently with someone about the idea of when's another lockdown going to hit, another nationwide lockdown. We're seeing the numbers rise. It's going to get colder, which apparently helps the virus spread. So when are we going to hit? And they just around and went, they don't think we are, because people have got their pubs back. They've got their McDonald's back. They're not going to give that up. People barely obeyed the rules when it was really strict to start with. People aren't going to, because they're going to look at it and go, well, we can do it this way, we can do it this way. And clearly it's not had an effect. And people just go about their daily business still. So I think we are now in a situation where there's no end in sight to this at the moment. And I saw someone else put, can we all stop talking about when this is all over for making plans? Because realistically, that's not a thing anytime soon. And again, it's like the whole way is, theoretically, we played football on Sunday and he got ill Sunday night. Showed The Simpsons on Sunday night. So theoretically, his football team immediately should be shut down. The team they played, they should be shut down. Then you've got to look at right, do you then move across to, do we need to then shut down anyone they've been in contact with? But to me, straight away, it should be, right, he's isolated, that's fair enough. The players he was in contact with, they should all be isolated. And then if he tests positive, then you spread it out. But there's nothing to say that immediate contact. And it's that's what's going to cause this to not end, because everyone seems scared of putting in draconian measures because of the negative connotations of draconian measures. But it needs something now. It needs someone with some balls, shall we say, to actually step up and go, look, I don't care about the vote. I don't care about whether this keeps me in power, whether this loses me the fight for going for this or whatever. And this is what's going to happen, like it or not. For the next 12 months, this is how life is going to be. Either that or there's no life moving forward. Screw the economy. We just need to make sure we get through this, because we didn't act in time. We didn't lock down properly. Everyone flaunted it. And I'm not going to lie. I've done things. I've gone out and gone to things and taken chances that I probably shouldn't have, because we're human. And we got told, or we saw those in power taking liberties. So we go, well, if it's okay for them, then it's okay for us, knowing what the dangers are. But then we're not the decision makers. This is where we need to be told, no, look, this is what we're doing now to stop this. Or we just release it completely and we let it spread and kill off whoever. But this half-arsing at the moment is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And who's actually going to grass up groups of 6 or more, by the way?
Precisely. It's not, I mean, God, it's such a big subject. There's so much we could talk about. Yeah. And we've done it in the past.
I hate that we're talking about it. It's ridiculous. But it's destroying me mentally at times.
Yes. It gets to a point where it kind of, what you've lost in terms of your freedom and what you've gained in terms of the level of fear becomes, a lot to take. And it's very, very difficult sometimes. And I think from a mental health perspective, it absolutely has to be acknowledged. And one of the things that's been very upsetting is when companies and the government use mental health issues as an excuse for people to go back to work.
Yeah.
So saying, oh, well, the suicide rate will climb because people are lonely and isolated. And it's just like, well, I'm pretty confident that's a spurious assumption anyway, because, I just don't believe that will be the case. I'd look into it, but I don't believe that would be the case. But also, it's just politicizing it and trying to use it as a weapon to get people back out spending. Yeah. And out of everything that the government has done or failed to do, the whole thing of focusing on profit and the economy before people has put themselves in a situation where they can't really back out from it without causing riots. So yeah, it's a very it's a very bad situation to be in, sadly.
Yeah, bizarrely, we can still, where we are in this country, we can still sit back and watch America literally burn into the ground and go, at least it's not that bad.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, countries very much go through, they kind of carry their stereotypes quite a bit. And I think with the UK, it's very much been playing on the whole stiff upper lip concept that we're different from other countries, that we're special, that if we can do it however we want because the way that we do things is best. And also that, that we shouldn't have to have laws. And this goes all the way back to the fact that we don't have a constitution, a proper constitution, because we're not a republic. We should just accept our betters without it being law. Just because they got more money and more power, you just listen to them and you don't question them on a legal level. And also that your betters instruct you so that you police the rest of your class. So it's very much like, you're now in charge of tutting at people in the street for not wearing a mask, or tutting for being more than six of you. And that's the way that they're playing it. And it's just childish and irresponsible. And I won't comment on America's thing in depth, but that to me feels like they're following their own private personal pattern as well. So yeah.
It's I'd say from the mental health point of view, I mean, to go on a bit more personal, because again, I don't want this to be a political episode again. It's very difficult not to be. Just that's what happens when you start a podcast in 2020, isn't it, really? But hey, we're going to do a My Little Pony podcast. Okay, what's the main subject? Well, the world's burning down. Let's talk about that. On a personal level, from your own mental health or your partner's mental health stance, when you was waiting for the test and then waiting for the results, what was going through your mind with it? Because that's something we've not hit yet. What happens after the test? Because we're just so assumed it's going to come back negative, but we've not gone through what happens if this is positive. So what went through your mind?
Well, it's weird. I was being hyper aware of everything, and I think that it's the sort of hyper awareness you don't generally have when you get a virus. So normally when you get a cold or a mutation on it, not the flu, because when you got the flu, you got the flu. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I've had proper flu. It's horrible. It's the worst.
So bad. But when you've got like a nasty virus, you kind of go, oh God, yeah, I've got the temperature thing. I'm aching all over. I'm going to take a load of drugs and go to bed. Not recreational ones, but And I was more like, okay, this hour I'm feeling this way. Oh, I've got a little twitching pain in my kidney there. Is that something? And this thing aches. I've got a weird ache in my shoulder. Is that connected? And you just like hyper aware of I was of everything going on in my body. And it was like, is this the signs of something? And then I was just kind of like, well, if it is, there's nothing I can do about it. I'm just going to be pragmatic about it. And after about a week, it was starting to feel a little bit better. So I was like, well, if it's starting to feel better after a week, then I've probably only got, if I've got it, I've only got a weaker version of it. So I have to sort of mentally prepare myself for the fact that I might have health complications down the line. If it was COVID, I might have a weaker heart. I might have poor lung function. This might never go away. So it was kind of like just prepping yourself for the worst in a way. That's how it was for me anyway.
Yeah, that's just not hit. I don't know if it's because, again, believing it doesn't affect kids as much, etc., etc. They're maybe just carriers or anything like that. But I've got a feeling that the next week, once he's had the test, I think it will start to become more real as to what potential issues there could be. One of the things he felt gutted with regards to his football side of stuff, that he's let people down and stuff like that. And he's trying to explain to him that it's nothing you've done wrong. It's a virus. Anyone can get it. We've taken all the proper precautions where possible, so it's just one of those things, unfortunately. But I want to make sure that he doesn't really suffer mentally from it. And I think I'd be more okay if it was me and I was the ones that have to go through it, but it's feeding for a child who's now got to go through it and then deal with any repercussions to a degree. That's horrid that I can't take that away from him.
Yeah.
And that's the world we're in now.
Yes, it must be completely different when it's something when it's your child and it's something that you can't mentally manage. It's them that has to mentally manage it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And when it hits home like that as well, you realise that you're living a completely different existence from the one that you were before. Yeah.
So, but on that cheery note, because I've now got, talking of children, they're beginning to get a bit fed up with being locked in the cupboard again. We'll finish it there.
Belong. It's where they belong.
It is. Yes. I'll teach them the meaning of seen but not heard.
You're right.
No, I won't. I've got to stop doing that. I've got to stop making jokes like that because it will come back and bite me on the ass. But yeah, as usual, if you do need to reach out about anything, if you are worried about what's going on in the world or anything on a personal level, please do reach out on Discord, Twitter, even email us direct. It's all there for you. If you want to support us, we've got a Patreon going that has extra content that's all pop culture based, not mental health based. So there's some extra fun stuff there. And YouTube, Twitch, we're on there. Like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. That banning you can hear, that is the devil children trying to get in. So I will end by saying goodbye, and until next time, stay safe.